So how did I become this little baby to being on the backside of a racetrack in Orlando, Florida in the course of 41 years? Well, you're going to find out with my story. Just after midnight on October 26, 1984, I was welcomed into this world in the arms of my mother in Bristol, Tennessee. My mother and I went on to live with my grandparents in Blountville, Tennessee. After my mom had just finished high school, she was 19 years old. We lived in a 2-bedroom house on top of a hill in Sullivan County on just a very small farm that my grandpa did and helped grow tobacco in the summer months. Then in 1994, my mom met now my stepdad, Danny, and we moved to Rock Hill, South Carolina for a job position that he had taken. So we stayed there for about a year, and we moved to a little town called Wanamaker, Indiana, just outside of Indianapolis. My dad switched around jobs a lot, so he moved to another location that he thought was a better fit for him. Then in 1996, we moved to Canton, Ohio, and then down to Dover, Ohio, where I started school and graduated. But my love for vehicles didn't start at a young age. We moved across the street from a local trucking company that is owned by a very longtime friend of mine, Earl Feller Trucking, and I became in love with semi-trucks. I would visit the shop every single day right after school. I could not wait to get out of school every day to be at the shop and move trucks around, even mow the grass. I didn't care what I needed to be. I just wanted to be around semi-trucks. Little fun fact. I learned how to drive a semi-truck when I was in 6th grade before I even knew how to drive an own car. And I learned everything I did through Earl and learned everything to this day of how to operate a semi-truck, how to work on a semi-truck, the ins and outs of day-to-day operations that these guys go through. And I owe that to Earl, knowing everything that I know today. All right, now you ask yourself, how did I go from loving trucks to getting into cars? Well, high school freshman year, had my driver's license already. Went and watched Fast and the Furious opening night, and I said, man, I want a car with green underglow. So I went out, and my parents got me a 91 Plymouth Laser RS turbo front wheel drive car. Had no idea what I had at the time. All I know is it was fast, and I wanted to paint it black and put green underglow in it, just like the Honda Civics in the movie. So at the time, I worked at a grocery store, and I really wanted to paint the car black, like I said. So I ended up taking it to Mako in Canton and had it painted black for like $1,500. Didn't know anything at the time. All I wanted was a black car with some green underglow to be like an alien spaceship hovering around my town. So that's what I did until about 5 months later, and I blew it up. So I traded my DSM in with a blown head gasket. Didn't tell the dealer. They didn't ask any questions. Then I picked up this 94 Integra LS. Had just a little bit of rust on it. It was a bone stock except for a set of wheels. It was a manual car, and I went into full retardation mode as far as customizing. Car had a full blown Bomex body kit. Yes, a real Bomex body kit. I ended up repainting the entire car. Put another set of wheels on it. I actually went through 2 different sets of wheels. Put a killer sound system in it. I also had a PlayStation 2 and multiple televisions. I ended up competing in a lot of the sound competition and a lot of car show with this car. I actually won quite a bit of rewards with it too. Now this time I learned how to modify an engine. So I ended up adding a Jackson Racing supercharger along with bolt-ons and made just over 300 wheel out of a non-VTEC LS motor, which I think was pretty impressive back in the day, and it sounded cool when I got on it with the crazy whine of a supercharger. So I rode a buddy's Camaro SS LS1 car, and I said, "Man, I want an LS1 car really bad." So I bought this '99 Trans Am WS6 automatic, thinking I would love to have an automatic car. Well, it turns out that I didn't. I missed stick shift. So then I traded in 5 months later and bought a 2001 WS6 real 6-speed car, and had it for the course of about 5 or 6 months. So I had this horrible habit of buying vehicles that my friends had. So I ended up trading my Trans Am in for this 2003 Mitsubishi Lancer Evolution 8, which was probably one of the nicest cars I ever owned and was one of the fastest cars I ever owned. Miss this car so much. Still to this day, I still don't know what happened to it, who owned it, or anything like that. So to summarize the rest of these vehicles, which would literally probably take me 30 to 40 minutes of video that I definitely don't need to be doing. Here is a quick picture list of everything that I have owned in the course of the time that I got my license, which was in total around 35 cars total. I know they all ain't in here. I did a lot of trading and stuff when I worked at the dealerships, so I usually bought a lot of daily drivers in the meantime, and I usually had a daily driver every like 2 or 3 months, and then I would trade it and get something else. So this is just a holistic about of the cool stuff that I have at least owned over the course of that year.
All right, so I probably bored you enough with just pictures, but that's all I really had, honestly, because there was a lot of videos that ended up missing over the course of years. Some of the stuff was on my MySpace and so forth, whatever. So this starts my how did I get into putting on drag races, promoting, etc., etc. So 2016, we started going to one of our local racetracks, Quaker City Motorsports Park, which is out in Salem, Ohio, where I've done events there in the past, recently. And for some reason, they had a bad storm that came in the night before their Wednesday testing tune. It actually hit one of the, I can't remember exactly what it hit, but it ended up tearing up the timing system, is ended up what happened. So they were supposed to have a testing tune. It didn't happen because the timing system just did not work. So I actually jumped out and actually started flagging. I actually did arm drop originally. So I was arm dropping back in 2016, which is crazy to think, at the time, everybody's flashlight starting, and I'm out here being a goof, arm dropping, have no idea what I'm doing. But obviously I caught on quick. I did it. It was fun. So then we worked out a deal to do our very first event. And you'll see the flyer pop up here. That's our flyer. I made it out of, I don't even know what I even made it with. I pretty much took the easiest free thing that I could do and added a bunch of pictures and some text to it, called it good. That's all I knew what to do. I was obviously very new at this. So, very first event I ever did, a no prep event. It was a success. We had probably right around 1,000 spectators there. Had a pretty decent car count. And we ran a really, really good show. That was actually the first time I'd ever met Johnny Quick, John Kramer from Detroit. He had his green Fox body at the time. And, didn't know who he was until some people started speaking up and kind of, let us know that he was a big time street racer, so and so forth. He said a lot of good things about us. I think he ended up winning the event that night. So that's how I first met John. And then, we moved into another year of doing events there. Unfortunately, there was too many events, and, we weren't very well known at that time, other than just the local crowd. So it was hard to get cars. We were kind of struggling. So we ended up abandoning that altogether. Then we ended up meeting Bill and Billy Hoskinson. Obviously, they knew us running races at Magnolia at the time when we first started. We met them for the very first time, had dinner with them, and everything was great. And they talked to us about this event they were having at Pacemakers, which was probably one of the, probably one of the biggest events that's ever been done in Ohio still to this day as far as payout and stuff, which was the Untouchable series, which had Chris Hamilton, Boosted GT, was there racing his brand new car he had just built. First time I'd ever been on the track. He was there as 32 guys. Joey Ravioli was there, Chris Carr, Brian Horsky, a lot of huge names. A lot of guys, Goran, a lot of these guys, you know, they're old school, no prep guys that they haven't been out in a while. Either haven't been out in a while or they gave up racing. But it was hands down, was a badass event. We killed it all around. Obviously with them, killed it. You know, we ran the entire event ourselves. And then that's pretty much how the relationship between us, obviously my friendship with Bill, and then Billy, and then obviously Vicky, and the whole family, that's how I became friends with all of the Hoskinsons, which was back in 2017. So that's kind of gives you an idea of how long I've actually been around them. On top of the Untouchable No Prep that we did for Billy and Bill, we also helped when Midnight Madness first started at KD, which was called KD Dragway originally. Now it is KD Motorsports Park. When Midnight Madness first came, me and Mike ran all those races. We ran all the chip draw, all the sign-up stuff, you know, ensured a very smooth race every time. You know, back in the day, that event started at midnight. Like, it's not like how it is now where the events start like 5 or 6. Like, they really did start at midnight. You know, back in the day, you know, there was a lot of late nights. You know, we left KD at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. And that race was every month. So every month we would have to drive to KD, which is like, I think like 3.5 hours from my house. Drive home, wouldn't get home till 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning after, you know, busting our ass all afternoon, all night, you know, to make sure that race is done. So that was another event, obviously, on our line of things that we have done, that I personally done also over the course of the 11 years that we've been doing this. And then obviously, you know, No Prep Mania was born, you know, before all those 2 other events started as well. So basically what happened was we had a really good turnout at Quaker for King of Quaker No Prep Nationals, which was the first no prep actual event that we did, like I was talking about. Then we came in and did a multiple event throughout the year. And this was kind of a judgment of the track owner wanting to do this. So yeah, so we know how many events are, you know, with having so many events throughout the year, it kills the attendance. We ended up having one also on Mother's Day as well, which was not a very good idea. Obviously the turnout sucked, and we ended up just canceling everything altogether because at the end of the day, it was not worth doing. It was not worth the time. It was not worth the effort. And at that time, we were just starting to grow. You know, we had one event in of our career, you know, to get everybody's attention in in what the no prep world was starting to be. Obviously, our part of the country wasn't doing this type of racing. We were the first to do it here in Ohio. We started the whole deal here. It's paved the way for countless events that has been thrown in our state. You know, a lot of guys were just dabbling their feet into it at that point. So everywhere else, you know, around, you know, the Midwest and stuff was already doing this stuff. This was a whole new deal that nobody had ever done. So we ended up relocating to what is our home track. That's 15, 20 minutes away. Dragway Magnolia. Obviously, everybody knows Dragway Magnolia if you're in the no prep world, because obviously there's one event that comes to mind, No Prep Mania. No Prep Mania was born after we started doing events there. Events kept growing. They've grown over the course of 10 years. Obviously went to two-day events last year, and they're doing one this year too. You know, that event is very dear and very special to me, just because it's the biggest event that we do a year. And obviously I'm very vocal about that event, obviously, just because it means a lot to me. And It's had some big names there. We've seen some incredible racing. We've seen some unforgettable moments. You know, Jason from Tin Soldier Race Cars, they've been there. They've raced Charlie there, which Charlie, you know, doesn't ever see a bad surface like that. So, you know, it really meant a lot that Jason and them came up to be a part of that event. Obviously, I'm a big Tin Soldiers fan. It meant a lot to have them there. Obviously, Jason also did a prayer there too. Obviously, that was awesome as well. We've had countless big names. Obviously, Logan Duvall's been there. Zach Jones. Both of them guys have won that event. He's been there. Billy has won that event once. Tommy has also won that event as well. Swamp Thing. Joey Baroni has been there. Just a lot of big names that's in this realm of this no prep evolution, you know. And it's definitely it's bittersweet. Obviously, the surface is going away this year. You know, we've worked on one surface, and that was the equalizer of why that event was so special. But it's been a good ride there, definitely for sure. And you know, I got a ton of memories there. Obviously, the wheelies. We saw Billy do a wheelie on track. Same night he actually won the big race there. We've seen Hong do almost a full track wheelie. There's been a lot of crazy moments there, but that, you know, in the end of the day, you know, as far as events, that's probably going to be the one it's going to make me miss a lot this year. So then after that, obviously, we actually inquired about doing an event at Dragway 42, West Salem, Ohio. Obviously, that track was very fast because it was a brand new track at the time. That track was redone a couple years ago, all brand spanking new. So making it on the front side is just not ideal, obviously, in our realm of the world. So we proposed about doing a backside event. I think it was 2021 was our first event at Dragway 42 on the backside. We've ran that race in reverse. We've ran it forward. We ran it reverse again, and we ran it forward again. It's always a good time. That facility is cream of the crop, obviously. All the lighting, you know, got the walls. The surface is you know, a smooth asphalt, so guys can go progressively fast on something like that. And unfortunately, we've had weather issues. Just all date error or timing error of when we have our event. Obviously, they give us a schedule every year. You know, what dates are available. We have to go with, you know, what's available. So there's been a couple times where, you know, it has rained. We've raced after it rained, got everything dried. I've rode a lawnmower down the track, trying to dry the track before. You've seen that picture, obviously. You know, that place, it's kind of struggled on the attendance side. Obviously, spectator side, definitely. I actually, believe it or not, last year was my highest racer count of all of the events that I did last year, which was incredible because I didn't expect that. It just fell on a good weekend where there wasn't a whole lot of, there was not 5 events stacked on top of my race like there is other times. And we all know how I feel about races being stacked on top of events that's already been on the schedule. But anyways, obviously we have what is now Coonley Motorsports Park, used to be formerly Thompson. It's up in Northeast Ohio. It's about 30 minutes east of Cleveland. It's right up there in the corner of Extreme Ohio, Pennsylvania, up by Erie. Obviously not a very ideal location for drag racing due to the lake being there and the lake causing a lot of weather effects up there between snow and rain. But we tried our hands, obviously, in our realm of the world of doing no prep, obviously. And we would do a front side on earlier in the year. We'd be the first ones on the track, and then we'd do a backside event. Obviously, same situation. The lake is a very powerful tool how it affects the weather. Obviously, in the wintertime, we get slammed with snow. slammed. It would snow for days just because of the wind going across the lake. Same effect in the summer. Wind goes across the lake a certain way. Guess what? You're only going to have lake effect rain. And our backside of it, unfortunately, has been a wash dang near almost every single time. This past year, same thing, was a wash. We had the front side event, got that done, could not get a backside in. It just sucks, just poor timing. The attendance hasn't been good there either, obviously because of the weather. It should be awesome because that place is badass. It's just like 42. The surface is exactly the same, is dang near almost exactly the same, except it's got less rubber. So you can go a little bit slower on it. But, we've struggled with attendance there as well because obviously you can't control the weather, what happens. So at the same time that we're doing all this other stuff with our races, Billy and Bill start going to Marion County Raceway. It's called Triple F now. You've known that for the YouTubers who bought the Marion County Raceway and turned it into their own playground and destroyed everything. But Marion County was basically the replacement for the Pacemakers deal. So they ended up moving the Untouchables, no prep series there, between doing races there, between them. Marion County was booming. Obviously, Marion County's in the middle of nowhere. It's very ideal. It's like 2.5 hours from me. So it's basically driving to the middle. It's basically driving to nowhere, driving in the middle of nowhere. Surface wasn't very ideal. You could go pretty quick there, but not as quick as a normal front side. But that was always a packed house, especially when Billy and Bill did their races there. And, it became to the point to where it was getting, played out. Because you had another promoter in there who would just throw pop-up races every weekend for all of his buddies. And by pop-up races, I mean basically 6 cars. Hey, let's have a shootout on Friday night, Saturday night, whatever. And say there's a big event that's already scheduled on the calendar, they didn't care. They would just throw a pop-up event. They have 6 cars there and be like, hey, I won with 6 cars. Whoop-de-doo. So obviously that was a killer. Trying to make a spectator understand that there's certain events obviously they want to attend, but then you try to throw a shootout every weekend and amp it up to be like it's a major event is obviously going to make the spectator catch on, and they won't go anymore because they don't know which event is a big event or it's a hat race. So obviously the attendance dropped, which sucked. Obviously that place was cool. We went in, did the same exact deal that we did at Pacemakers and at Katy. We handled all the signups and stuff like that. Pretty much ran the race start to finish. So right before everything that ended in Marion County, I ended up meeting Josh Robinson, who used to run Ohio Grudge Racing. I think it's changed now to Fueled by Faith Racing. Not exactly sure. He was doing a couple races out there at Marion County course of a year. Then started staged event, obviously, at the backside of National Trail Raceway, which is now Durana Raceway in Hebron, Ohio. I flagged all those events up until obviously last year, when the year before obviously there was some issues that had happened. Josh wasn't welcome back, which then return made us also not welcome back for it, which we did nothing. Obviously, there was some issues between a friend and the actual promoter. Some stuff happened between the promoter and some racers, and it was a mess. It was an absolute mess. Whatever. Anyways, so ran all those races on top of it. We got Streetcar Takeover to finally come to Ohio. which was awesome because that event is a national event. It travels everywhere. They have some great classes, some great racing, and everywhere they went, they packed the place. So I ended up working out a deal with Chase and Justin when they were still together. We ended up going and working for them. And so we helped run the Ohio event. We went and helped to run the Indy event. And we also went to run the event in Charlotte as well. So pretty much anything on the East Coast, those three events really we were there to be a part of. So that was cool. Obviously being a part of SCT. I've known Chase for a long time, from my years going to TX2K. So I knew him back when he had his black Evo, back in the day when he raced a Lambo, got into a fight with one of the owners of Underground in the parking lot at Mullets. I was there for that, seen the whole thing. That's how I met Chase. Justin, obviously, same thing. Went TX2K, raced. That's how I knew him as well. So knew both those guys going into it and was extremely grateful that they decided to ask us to be a part of their event and help basically run the drag racing portion of the show, which was awesome. It's another cool thing to add to my list of stuff that I've done over the course of the years, which a lot of people don't know, unless you blatantly ask me, what I've done. That's why I'm making this video now. Then in 2025, me and Happy put on an event at Knoxville Dragway, no Prepville at the Ville. It was a frontside, backside race. We came in, hoping to put a race on, having good, a good turnout because obviously they do a lot of no prep stuff there. They seem like they have a pretty good following as far as how many cars, that come to that race. Unfortunately, it didn't do that great, especially on the front side, but the backside definitely was better. We actually ended up holding 2 races in one day on the backside, which was cool. We gave the spectators, 2 different races and was able to run that race in the course of 5 or 6 hours, which was, wild to everybody down there that had never seen a race that was ran so organized. So obviously doing all these races got me out into the world about flagging. I flagged all these street races. I flagged all of these track races, so and so forth between everything. I had people reach out wanting me to come flag events. I went to Crossville, Tennessee, Crossville Dragway, did an event for the Nashville Street Outlaw guys. Super good group of guys. Had a blast down there. And then we went to Orlando and obviously flagged on the backside of that track. Thanks to Mike Corley, who puts on that event, along with that racing channel. So as crazy as it sounds, we actually ended up going back to Pacemakers in 2023, 2024 to help run some races for Gary Moore. He was leasing the track, wanting to do some events. It was hit and miss, unfortunately, with his events. Some were good, some were bad. He just scheduled on top of some people here and there. Obviously we offered some advice, when to schedule. You probably shouldn't do it on this deal, et cetera, And it was just, unfortunately, the turnouts were not great. He also had some beef with some people, so there were some people that obviously wouldn't go support that track or support the events just because they just didn't like him. And ultimately, we ended up canceling everything, and I don't even know if it's even going to open for 2026 or not. I know somebody is coming in there who has leased the track, but it's been radio silence, which is crazy because that place is cool. It's set up nice. The track is actually pretty decent. It's got great seating up and down the track. I mean, it's a solid place compared to some of these places out there, and it just really sucks to see that it's back to what it was, where they was booming, then it went away, and then it was trying to boom again, and then it went away again. So on top of doing all these events, which obviously is helping all the tracks, so on and so forth, I've done a lot for the local scene as well. You know, the guys who go out, you know, sit in a parking lot, go out and race on the street, you know, stuff like that over the course of, since really 2012. I did a deal that I had taken over from a gentleman from Cleveland who hosted it as well. It's called Cleveland versus Columbus. Obviously, it was a rival between both cities where they would either come up and race with us, or we would go down and race at their spot too. So it actually changed every year that we would do that, depending on how hot the situation is between the police and stuff like that. So I took over that, started doing that for all my local guys who love to go roll racing. I know a lot of people don't like roll racing. They say it's not real racing, yada, yada, yada. I obviously grew up doing that before I did drag racing. So I enjoyed it. It's fun. You still go fast. You still go 150 plus mile an hour. I've been almost 200 mile an hour before in my own personal car racing somebody. Whatever. So organizing meets and stuff like that for the locals between here in Cleveland for the people that are invited. I do 2 or 3, usually 2 big meets. It's a private location. The only way you know of where it's at is if you, 1, you've been there, 2, you know somebody to where you don't cause issues or you don't have a risk of being turned around and sent back home. So I always do that for the locals every year. It's huge. 100 plus cars show up. We've had Kyle from 1320's been here. There's a video out. V8's battle. It was filmed here. All the racing happened. I was in it. I was racing in it. It was such fun. I organized that in like 7 hours, and we had like 200 something cars show up that, you know, was in the rim of the world that knew what was happening, where it was happening, this and that, or whatever. So I've always organized meets and stuff like that for the local scene, which I care about the local scene. As I've went racing more, there's been less of it just because nobody wants to, I guess, step up and like do anything, which sucks because like there's a lot of people that like to go out and cruise and just meet up and stuff like that, and nobody's really doing it other than if I'd be like, hey, anybody want to meet up tonight? You know, last minute deal if you know, rain cancels an event that's far away. That's not going to obviously affect the weather here. But the local scene is very dear to me. I care a lot about it. The car scene is very dear to me as well, and it has kind of went to shit lately just because of you know, they have bad promoters, just like our rim of the world. You know, there's some bad promoters out there. Well, we got some bad promoters out there doing meets and stuff that encourage you know, the takeover bullshit and just regular traffic ass shit, you know, that's not like what we grew up to, like what it used to be, where if you had a cool car, like there's a bunch of cool cars out, and over there is your mom's Accord that's bone stock, you know, or just, you know, everyday traffic is what they call it. And I want to change that. I'd like to make it better. So I think that pretty much covers all the events that I've been a part of or were my own, which is a lot. Needless to say, now that I've seen how far I've gotten in this video, I'm like, holy crap, I've done a lot in the amount of since 2016 really. But I wouldn't change it for the world. It's been fun. I've learned a ton. And I've gotten to do some of the coolest shit that there is to do out there. You know, putting on events, going to all these races, going to a lot of races, you know, people, you know, have still to this day have never been to. You know, going to War in the Woods every year, going down to Kentucky for all the races down there for Happy. The Winter Series races down in Bradenton 2 years in a row. The Christmas tree races at Bradenton as well. It's been a lot of fun. Obviously, I was traveling there with Billy for a minute and got to go to a lot of places. Obviously, helped him out, between making a video and winning races or running up races. I think every bit of last year, he either won or he runnered up almost every race, which, it feels like an accomplishment, between scrambling to get the car ready, making sure the car's right, making sure the car's in the right place it needs to be on the track, so on and so forth, just little stuff like that. I wish that circumstances were changed, that things weren't getting in the way of someone's success to where they could explode and be probably the biggest thing out there. But you make your bed, you sleep in it. Simple as that. Oh, and I almost forgot. Going on sick week. Sick week is so much fun. It really is. If you've never been on a drag and drive, like a real good drag and drive, like the Hot Rod Power Tour, anything like that, the drag and drive stuff, sick week, like, you need to do it. It is hands down a blast. Like, the track racing's okay. It's its own. It's a little different than, obviously, our realm of the world as far as racing. The cruising, the checkpoints, all the people that are on the checkpoints watching all these cars come in, make their checkpoint stops and then leave. It's so much fun. And people love it. They cheer you on. That's something that, in drag racing is a little different now, because really the only time anybody cheers for you is either if you win, you're just out driving a full-blown race car. So probably the next question you ask is, do you actually have a personal life? I really don't, honestly. I'm pretty much cars and racing 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. A normal job, like everybody else. Obviously, I quit my job in 24 to obviously go work with Billy. That didn't work out, so now I'm kind of in between right now. I've been helping some friends of mine who own businesses. My friend actually has an indoor golf simulator business, and I've been helping on the weekends and a couple nights a week, run the show basically, while golfers are in there golfing away. I'm not a golfer. I used to be. I played in high school, but I'm really not that much now. It's easy, and I know kind of the basics of it. I've also been helping my friend of like 15 or 16 years at his detail shop. Been helping, transport cars. He does a lot of dealer work. So been helping him a couple of days during the week, just to get something, just to make something, like I've, obviously ridiculed how much of a pain in the ass it has been to find work. And there's people that's backlashed out to like, well, if you want to work, you would find something. Well, I think it's a little harder than that. I've tried. I have applied to so many jobs that I feel that I'm a good fit for. In the racing and even in the racing industry, like, I should have zero issues finding something that deals in the racing and deals with racer support, anything like that along those lines. And I've said it a million times, like, I must look like terrible on paper for what I really am. And I just don't, it just makes no sense to me. And, at this point, it's starting to scare me a little bit, because, there's all these jobs out there, and I don't know who's getting hired in these jobs. I guarantee you, I am willing to bet my entire life that I had more experience doing that job on top of the support than anybody else has. I guarantee it to a T. And it's just frustrating. It really is. And it's really like, and I posted some during sick week, about, mental health has really never been an issue for me. Like, I've never had an issue as far as like have, bad feelings and stuff like that. Some people do, some people don't. And the rejections have really, really, it's killed my self-esteem. And it's hard to rebound off of that. I don't know if that's, some people are different. Some people would look at that and be like, oh, whatever, is what it is. We'll figure something else out, which I am, to an extent. But I have dealt with rejection a lot in my life, between jobs, just life, relationships. I have dealt with it a lot, and it takes a toll on you. And at this point now, I feel like I might as well be a rock on the ground at this point. And I don't know what else to do. It's really sad, because like, I want to be in this industry. I feel I'm very good at this industry. I communicate with a lot of racers, helping, whatever it is, between stripper glitter, between races, helping educate people, promotion side, like anything like that. I feel like I'm very good at that. I can talk to people. I'm not camera shy, obviously. I've been around cameras. I am very vocal for the most part about things in general. I don't know. It's just, I just hit a point a couple weeks ago to where it was sad. It truly was. Like, I was having the best life on sick week, and next minute I'm like in my own head, do I think that like that I'm not worthy? A little bit at this point. Do I serve a purpose anymore? And I feel like I'm at that point where like my purpose is over. Like, I'm done. Like, I'm tapped out. That's it. That's it for me. I have done what I can do on Earth, and like, that's it. I hate talking about it, because it's crazy, man. Like, I don't even know. I'm hoping next month, like, something's going to turn around for me. That's all I'm hoping for at this point, because it's getting to the point to where like I've worked my ass off for the last 20 years, 25 years, to have a nice house, to have the vehicles that I own, all this stuff that I have in my house, my furniture, like all this stuff, my sim rig, my computer, all this stuff. Like, I have busted ass to provide for myself and live a life that, I can travel, go to all these races and do this, that, and the other, and I feel like I'm at that point to where like I'm afraid I'm going to lose everything. And I don't want to lose everything. So we're obviously at 2026. New year, normal routine. What would be the normal routine for me? Getting races set up for the year, getting everything that needs to be done in order, getting the sponsors, all the information, the flyers, the events, and just start posting, throughout the next couple of months, just keeping everybody reminded and stuff. Well, this year is definitely a little bit different. I went into PRI. Normally I'd go into PRI that I'm there to engage, talk to people like coming to events, this, that, and the other. This year, I'm not going to be doing what I would normally be doing. A lot of people know, a lot of people, I'm sure, don't know that I ended up stepping away from D-Team this year for a multitude of reasons. And, I thought in the end of the day, it was better for me. Just for the simple fact that I did a lot of work the last 11 years. I wouldn't say more 11 years. I would say more or less 7 or 8 years. I've done a lot of work, getting people to come race, getting the sponsors that we have gotten for stuff, and it never seems like it's enough. And you're not treated equally, or you're a punching bag, one of the two. And, it never benefited me anymore, other than I did the work with no reward, other than we had a good race. That was it. It is what it is. And I was tired. I was tired of it. I really was. So I decided that I was not going to do any races this year. But then I thought about it and I said, if there was something I could do, I could do it. So then that brings me obviously to the Lake Effect Showdown that's at Coonley Motorsports Park this year. Biggest thing was bringing the Little Gangsters name into the mix. That would be one of the series races for the Little Gangster series that Jimmy Dale and Poland do. So I'm going to do that this year. I'm going to do a guaranteed payout with a guaranteed car cap. It's going to be capped at a certain amount of cars. It's going to have a guaranteed payout, paying back to the second runner-up. On top of that, having a couple other classes, True Street, a Baby Gangster 630, Quick Street, and then a Small Tar Championship. But yeah, the Small Tar Championship will be a championship race where it's qualifiers. You win a belt for the 3 classes that it will go out to be. I've already got a couple sponsors already for a couple of classes. Full Throttle Detailing, they're in Massillon, Ohio. He's my True Street class sponsor, so there'll be money on top of that class. Mike Brown Customs is my Baby Gangster 630 class, money on top of that. And then Little Gangsters is sponsored by Vickers Performance Transmissions, which Vickers has sponsored the last 3 no preps at Magnolia for No Prep Mania for me. So I told him, what my plans were for this year. Told him about this race, and he was extremely interested in being a part of it, especially the Little Gangsters race. Tommy's done really good at it, and he's won a lot of them. So he was like, it makes more sense. I definitely want to come in and support, the 530 stuff. So shout out to all them guys, helping out for this race, especially Coonley too as well. I do have some more stuff that I'm working on with them as well that I may be offering. And if it happens, it'll probably be the first time in Little Gangsters history that you might get something pretty cool that a lot of places don't, just especially in our rim of the world, just give out. So I'm working on that. We'll see what happens. And on that note, this video is way longer than I was hoping it was going to be. And I didn't actually realize how much stuff I was going to put in this video. I should have did 2. I should have did 1, and then I should have did 1 to start and then did the other. But if you made it this far, God, I appreciate you at this point. There was a lot of talking. There wasn't a whole lot of videos. Thankfully, I didn't have a lot of videos, unfortunately. I wish I did, but I wasn't going to bootleg a lot of the videos out of other people's stuff. But, so, that's me in a nutshell. 41 years of life and everything that I have seen, done, heard, drove, so and so forth. But if you stuck to this long, I appreciate watching. If you haven't already hit that little thumbs down button, it's down here. That definitely helps out a lot. Gets it out to more people to be seen. Obviously, my channel's small. I've had my channel way longer than most people have started making YouTube videos. I had YouTube videos of roll racing. Like, that was what I was posting back in 2009 when I originally created this channel. I didn't know what I was going to do with it. I sure as heck didn't think I was going to be doing this now, but, you know, I'm not trying to take content away from people, you know, especially like Billy or Tommy or any of those guys. You know, there are people out there that do that, and it's not right. Like, you know, the sick week stuff, you know, I could have literally thrown together a video of all the sick week stuff, had it out probably 2 or 3 days after we got back before, you know, like Tommy and Allison did, but out of respect for them, I wouldn't do that. I wasn't even going to do that anyway because I did all the filming obviously there, so everything needs to be on their channel because it's them. But, you know, there's some people out there that feel the need to, you know, try to steal somebody's thunder, especially if they're in like the same circle, needless to say. And I'm not like that. I'll never be like that. But anyways, I'm killing it. This has been long enough. I'm over this video already. I've been editing this video for like almost 2 weeks, and when I say I'm over it, I'm over it. All the editing, all the stuff that I had to cut out because I blabbed on or I said the wrong word or I said a lot. Well, I can't tell you how many times I actually said that because it's insane. I cut so much of it out of my video. It's wild. All right. Peace out of here. Thank you all so much for watching, and we'll catch you next one.